Hi, this is James here with MAXSURF Technical Support. I just want to talk about a script that I've written here for accessing stability criteria through VBA. Now, to create the syntax for stability criteria is kind of difficult because if I pull my off to a flying start, if we have a look at these criteria here, when we look at them in stability, in VBA, we access it by this name smushed together, so the name of the criteria with its group. We need to know this type, and we need to know the reference name for each of these specified heel angles. So we need to know if we're using a low heel angle, and we need to know the value of it. So we need to know all of that that syntax to be able to access these rules through stability. So what I've done is I've written a script here, and it's not going and accessing any rules in stability, it's just creating the script that you can put into your macros to access it. So there's some instructions here on this instructions page. The simplest way of running it is simply clicking on this button, and that's clear that all, and it's gone and created, if we have a look it up here, this is the correct syntax for setting the parameter on our wind pressure or velocity, saying that it's pressure. So I can then go and copy all of these bits of information, put that into a VBA script, and that will ensure that when I run my VBA script, it's going to open it exactly as, set everything up exactly as I have it set up now. We can also go and change parts of these, so we could go and look at a variation in windage area total, for example, and see at what windage area perhaps we start failing or something. So you could write a script like that, varying those input parameters by having this syntax. Now I also have the results here, and these results you would need to change it so it was saying, cell this equals stab app design blah blah result, or maybe value A equals blah blah. So there's no equation here, there's just the syntax for the results, just because it's too hard to work it out. Now this is all of the criteria. So this has been, there's some instructions here. Basically, I've opened up the HTML file for criteria help, open that up in Word, and then pasted it in here. Now, you won't need to do this, but over time, more criteria types will be added. So at some point in time, you're going to come across trying to use those new criteria types, and you will need to step through this process. So hopefully at that point in time, the format is similar enough that it works, and you can run through this again. So let's take a quick look at the code behind it. Oh, no, sorry, this one is a good one to, these two are good ones to talk about now. These are not being used, but bear them in mind. The first one is that if all you need to do is access a results table, and the table is in the format that you want in stability, then don't try getting each individual part. Just copy the whole table as one item. So that copies it into the clipboard, and then you can paste it. You can also go and split that clipboard up into an array, and you can have all the results sit into an array. That's also possible. The other one is that I'm using everything with these long names. You can go and define, so here I've defined an array called crit as with a type of criterion. I've redimensioned crit, the array, from 1 to 5, so there are 5 positions in that array, and then I've set criteria 1 to be this criteria, and so from then on, whatever parameter we've got. So we could address it like that. So yeah, if you want to simplify the text, then perhaps you might want to go something like that. In terms of what we're doing here, this is the main one we run through. And I'll just really lightly summarize it, and you can go and scratch your head later and work it out for yourself. But the important thing is here that we are saving to the temp folder our criteria file. So we're defining that name and we're saving it. And then this criteria file is actually a text file. It's readable by human eye. And so then we run through each line of that criteria file and read in all of the information. Now in here, some of this was actually unnecessary. This criterion group stuff isn't necessary, but to remove it, I'd need to fix some other bits later, so I've left it in. I initially thought it was necessary, but it wasn't. Yeah, so basically it picks up these criterion headings and it goes through splits it up and goes through looking for certain words and cases in there, and puts it into this all crit array. And then once we've got everything into the all crit array, it goes and splits it, and we either create a parameter for the setting of them, or we set the results type. Yeah, and so that runs through and it creates this long line, and if you substitute each of those variables through, then what we come out with is this text that we saw at the start, which is has the type, has the reference name, has the parameter name for all of the parameters that are available. So for most of the time, all you'll need to do is in stability, set up your criteria the best you can, and then come here, run this, and then copy and paste all of these parameter ones so that we set all of our parameters, like the input parameters. And then any results you want to go and look at after you've solved it, you can run the stabapp.design.criteria.calculate, I think it is, and look at those results. Now I do have Turkish Lloyd rules do have a currently not implemented but soon to be implemented. Basically this point where we measure the height of the GZ above the healing arm varies dependent on this intersection. So the point where we measure it and the required height changes according to this intersection. So we don't have that implemented right now, but it is actually on the wish list to be implemented. So I've gone and written a script, and it is included in here still. And this will go through, you can see here that we've set all of our parameters to make sure they're as we expect, they were on the day. And yeah, we can go through and we can get the equilibrium angle. Then based on that equilibrium between the heel angle and the GZ, we can calculate the reference angle that we measure it at and the height that we require. We can set those as our parameter and our results that we need. Sorry, that's our parameter for where we measure it, and then we can that's also a parameter there, and we can calculate it. So then when we look at our criteria results, those values should be in here somewhere. I might need to reassess that. Perhaps I got the wrong information in there. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the process that it goes through. Um, the most important thing to remember is, although I do have this one working example, as a general rule, this code is not designed to go and solve anything for you. It's only designed to go and create this input syntax to make life easier for you. Um, so best of luck using it. You are going in fairly deep if you're if you're working with the criteria. They are pretty difficult to work with, and hopefully this makes life just a little bit easier for you. Thank you and good luck.